Hello and welcome to Ketter Farms. We're here on our Farm Sim Network server, and this is Pineapple Bay, server 22, and this is where I play on the Farm Sim Network. And it's been, I don't know, probably 3-4 months since I did a Farm Sim Network video and showed off my farm and all the equipment that I have. We've upgraded quite a bit over the last 4+ months. I think I started back in March of 2020 here with playing on the Farm Sim Network. And since then, we started out with a single field, field 42, which is actually a pretty decent sized field. If we look at it in here, I can't actually see how big it is. It was pretty big. I think it's between 30 and 40 acres. And so this kept me busy, and I was farming this for quite a while. And then we kind of expanded. I also own field 40, and the area over here I've turned into a field. I own field 44, and I also own the biogas plant. And so if we just take a quick look here, you can see field 42 here on the other side. Or I'm sorry, field 40 on the other side of 42 here is a pretty big field. All three of my fields, 40, 42, and 44, are all not quite the same size. 40 is a little bit smaller than the other two. I range from the low 30 acres in field 40 to mid to high 30s for field 42 and 44. And so we've got just around 100 acres of land. And then I recently picked up the biogas plant here a few weeks back. And this has been an awesome purchase because it's enabled me to set up a business and collect silage and slurry from the other farmers on the map. So I don't currently run any animals of my own, but because the biogas plant is fairly profitable, it makes it's a little bit more profitable than the other sell points on the map on average. Essentially, I've set up a deal with all the other farm managers on the map to collect their silage when they want to run corn silage, or a lot of players have done grass bales and turned them into silage as well. And then I've got some slurry tanks set up here inside the biogas plant, and then there was a really awesome lot behind the biogas plant where I've got another slurry tank set up. And I've recently converted from bunks into these silos that can hold silage as well. This allows me to essentially assign a silo to a given player, and once they fill it up, I buy that silage from them and I process it through the BGA. And so this has turned into quite the nice little business for me. These bunks turned out to be a little bit bugged on the map, so I couldn't get the silage off the walls. One of these days I'll figure out how to clean that up with the landscaping tool. And so it's kind of turned into a good vehicle parking lot for me, just to keep vehicles out of the way. And so we're doing pretty good. You'll notice I have just shy of $1.6 million in the bank. And I'm super excited about that. And I got a whole bunch of digestate here, so I'm going to be able to start using that to fertilize my fields for free, which should save me even more money. So we've got this big slurry spreader here that I also use to move slurry around within the biogas plant. I've got a nice Challenger 1050 here. And so this has been a really good tractor. It's a little bit speedier than most of the other tractors. It clocks in at 39 miles an hour. So it makes getting around on the map pretty easy. And then I've got this handy dandy man ITC truck, which is what I dump silage with. And so the silage pit only holds 50,000 liters of silage at a time, and it processes 60,000 an hour. And so every hour, or just under an hour, if I want to maximize my profit, I have to log in and dump some silage in there. And so it's become quite the quite the business, but it also takes a little bit of time. And so that's kind of a quick overview of our farm. And I think it would also be interesting to jump out and look at the rest of our finances. And so if we jump out here into the actual FSN site and go into our finance tab, I've actually been doing pretty good. So I've got $88,000 in my web cash account. You can see up at the top here, it shows the cash. That's what I've got on hand to spend, pay contractors, pay bills. But I also have $888,000 in my savings account. I believe this caps out at $1 million. And so I've just got some in there earning a little bit of interest while we go. And then I've got a little bit in Meta, which you can see up here at the top of the screen. I've got like $7,000 in Meta. And then I have a couple of stocks that I've gotten through prize boxes. So, really if you consider, all the assets here, this is about $1 million. The assets I have in game is 1.6 million. So we're actually doing really good right now. And so, that usually means it's about time to spend some more money. And so if I come in here to the registered equipment that I have, you can see that I've got a nice, that Challenger I showed off. I've got a really nice big John Deere 2623 plow. I've got a New Holland 1090 with the 45-foot draper. I've got a 9RT, a DB120 planter, the IT runner that we showed off. I do have a Massey Ferguson 7700 running around on the map somewhere. Our slurry tank. I've got a John Deere 4045 with the sprayer and the spreader attachments. A nice cramp trailer. These are nice because on the Pineapple Bay map, because there's some of the sell points that you can't pull through with like an American style semi-trailer for grain. And so this back dump is super, super helpful. I've got a Terminator seeder, which is super useful. And then I've got a semi and a liquid tanker that lets me move liquid fertilizer and herbicide around on the map, which is super helpful with the 4045. And so I've got a pretty good set of equipment now. Lots of big equipment because I do have 100 acres to run. And so my goal was to start off and start doing some more field work and showing off contracts and things like that in this series moving forward. And also while doing the normal farming activities and just kind of showing off what it means and how you operate as a farm manager and all the different little things that come up. I thought that I would also spend some time and talk about that transition into farm manager. A few months ago, I did a video on tips and tricks for contractors or just players in general for FSN, and that went over really well. I got lots of great comments and feedback, but I've gotten a lot of questions since then on advice on being a farm manager. And so I'm going to put together some thoughts, and, the next upcoming video is going to be very much focused on some tips and tricks for farm managers. But really, I think that the biggest piece of advice that I can give to new players coming into Farm Sim Network that want to jump into being a farm manager is, don't rush into it. Take your time, build up some money. I jumped into it way too fast and got burned out on a lot of the things in FSN because it takes a lot of time if you're going to run a big farm. And so, it's take your time before you get into farm manager, and don't try to expand too fast because the first time that you lose an entire crop because you didn't have time to log in that day and jump in the harvester, and you didn't pull in hundreds of thousands of dollars of crop that you had sitting on the field, you're going to get pretty frustrated. I know I was. And so you've got to learn how to balance playing versus the rest of your life, because the servers are on real time and they're not going to wait around for you. And so for people like myself, I actually enjoy the challenge of having to keep up with something that's, not going to wait around for me. It forces me to continue to play, be active, and, pay attention to what's going on. But, also there's times where there's just not enough time in the day to get into Farm Sim Network, and that's where contracts come in. And so the other piece of advice I would just toss out there for farm managers is do not be afraid to leverage contracts and have other players come in and help you do your work on the farm. Just plan ahead. If you're in the middle of busy harvest season, don't expect that you're going to be able to just toss a contract out there and get it filled in the next hour. Right now it's busy time. You can see we've got a ton of contracts out there. I'm just scrolling and scrolling. On the left side are all of the player contracts. On the right side are NPC contracts on the training servers. And so with all of these on the left side, these are all contracts from a player asking another player to come help them do work. And so that is a lot of contracts. And, really that's because we're in late autumn. And this is, obviously harvest time. And so there's just a lot of people on that are busy doing, different work, harvesting, baling, exporting grain to sell on the market. And so there's a lot of things, and I'm going to try and put together a more structured view into some of those things and start going over different components of FSN in a more broken out way moving forward. It's just been so many months since we got going that I wanted to toss out kind of a more general view into where my farm was at as kind of a kickoff point for us. If you haven't heard of FSN or played before, I highly recommend going and checking out my first video in this playlist where I talk about what FSN is and kind of dive into some of the different points. So the last thing I wanted to show off is if we come in here to the settings area of FSN, there's a new section for server times. And this is one of the other big reasons why I wasn't creating content for Farm Sim Network was that whenever I would be on to play, and for those of you that are members of the channel, you've probably heard me talk about this before, is I do most of my content creation between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And historically, when I first started playing, all of the FSN servers are run in real time, and they were tied to Eastern Standard Time. And so that meant that I was always playing in the dark, and it looked like this. And that wasn't really a lot of fun for a lot of reasons. It's really hard to see in the dark in Farming Simulator. And it's even harder to see in a YouTube video when you're trying to create content and show things off. And so now, if we jump back into the game, you can see it's actually 8 a.m., almost 9 a.m. here because I'm recording after midnight here. And it's bright and sunny on the map, and I can do, all of my work in the daytime, and it's just a lot easier to play. And I'm going to be able to create content while I'm playing and show things off in a much more meaningful way. So I'm super excited about that. It did take a couple of months to kind of finagle and bribe and convince and thank a lot of the other farm managers on the server to get us to a point where we're all in the same time bracket and we're happy with where the time is because we've got players on our server. We have myself 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 different farms right now. And so with so many different players, we actually have people in very different time zones, or even some of the people that are in the same time zone may work or play on a different schedule than me. And so we had a lot of conversations with each other and kind of came to an agreement that we were going to be able to run 8 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, and that would let everybody on the server play during the daytime. And that's one of the things that I really like about Farm Sim Network is the community. And if I had to, kind of wrap up on, one point that, I want to make about Farm Sim Network is It's been a great community. We've got a Discord server. There's over 8,000 people registered now, which is crazy because when I started playing in March, I think it was in 4,000s. And so FSN has almost doubled since I started playing. I joined server 22, and it was, towards the latter part of the list when I joined. And now they're talking about standing up servers over 100. And I think there's 20, 30 more servers already lined up to be stood up. And so thinking about the fact that there's 100 plus servers in FSN now that you can go and play on and do contracts on, and there's dozens of different maps that are wrapped into that is just awesome. And so I'm super excited to be part of this community, and I'm super excited that there's finally daylight on our server, and we're going to be able to do some more content on the server here and show some things off, and start talking about all the new things that have been added to FSN since I kind of stopped doing content on it. So we'll take a look at some of those things together. I haven't really played with. There's virtual horse farms now. There's factories on the web page. The meta activities have been expanded on, and so there's just tons of new things out there that we can take a look at. And I'm super excited to get back into this as something that we're going to do every week. And so if there's specific things that you would like to see or hear more about that relate to Farm Sim Network, please leave a comment below and let me know what you'd like to have me dig into. I'm more than happy to go figure it out and add it into the series here somewhere. So with that, that's all for today. Ketterk, out.